Lena loved her quiet life in Whispering Pines, a small suburb just outside of Portland, Oregon. She was a senior in high school, with most of her time spent on schoolwork or gaming. Her friends joked that she was practically nocturnal, always playing horror games late at night, with her room bathed in the cold glow of her monitor. It was her escape, a way to feel a thrill while still safe at home. That summer, Lena stumbled upon a game she hadn't heard of before. A friend had sent her a link to a download called Silent Watcher with a simple message: "Play it at night, if you dare." Intrigued, Lena decided to give it a try, figuring it was just another indie horror game. But there was something strange about it. The game wasn't listed on any major site or in any reviews. She brushed it off as some hidden gem and downloaded it anyway. That night, she settled into her chair around midnight, a bag of chips by her side, and clicked the game icon. Her headphones fit snugly over her ears as the title screen blinked to life, displaying an old, decrepit house surrounded by dark woods. She hit start, and her character appeared at the edge of a forest trail. There was no tutorial, no HUD, just her character holding a dim flashlight, illuminating only a small patch of the narrow path ahead. The sound design was eerie. Every rustle in the bushes, every distant crow was sharp and unsettling. She kept moving forward, the forest seeming to close in around her character until she reached an old, weathered house. It looked uncannily familiar, a one-story building with broken windows, its roof sagging from years of neglect. But what struck her was how similar it looked to an abandoned house she'd seen just a few blocks from her own home in Whispering Pines. The house was real. She'd passed it hundreds of times on her way to school, its presence a local legend among the kids in town. They said it had been abandoned after a family disappeared there, leaving everything behind. She hadn't thought about it in years, yet here it was, rendered perfectly in the game. "Creepy coincidence," she muttered, moving her character forward. Inside, the house was claustrophobic, walls lined with peeling wallpaper and cracked frames. Her character's footsteps echoed loudly in her headphones, blending with the distant whispering in the background. There was something off about the audio, a strange hum that made her feel disoriented. After exploring the kitchen and dining room, Lena felt an odd sense of déjà vu, like she'd been there before. Just as she entered the living room, her flashlight caught a figure darting across the hallway, a tall, shadowy shape moving out of sight. She froze, pulse quickening. This wasn't the standard kind of jump scare, it felt real, the figure too natural, almost lifelike. "Whoa," she whispered, feeling her heart hammering. She moved her character forward slowly, dreading each step. As she reached the end of the hall, she found herself at a door marked "Basement." She hesitated. Every horror game told her going into the basement was a terrible idea, but curiosity overpowered her fear. She clicked to open it, and her character descended into darkness. Just then, Lena's phone buzzed. She glanced down, surprised to see an unknown number had messaged her. The text read, "Why are you here?" Lena's heart skipped. She looked around her room, half expecting someone to be watching her, but she was alone. She shrugged it off, figuring it was a prank, maybe her friend who'd sent her the game. She replied, "Nice try, but you're not scaring me." She pocketed her phone and turned back to the game. The basement was pitch dark, save for a faint red glow at the far end. As her character approached, she could see it was coming from an old television set, flickering with static. She leaned in closer, feeling the tension mount. The TV screen cleared and she gasped. On the screen was her bedroom, her setup, her face staring back at her. Her own live image, watching herself play, was broadcasting from inside the game. She pulled her headphones off and glanced behind her, but her room was empty. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. "Did you see me?" This time she felt her pulse throb in her neck. She typed back, "Who is this? How are you doing this?" But there was no reply. Lena tried to shake off the fear, focusing back on the game. The scene on the TV had changed. It now showed a view of the real-life Whispering Pines, the abandoned house in perfect detail. She guided her character out of the basement, but before she reached the door, the game's graphics glitched. Her character froze, and the game screen was filled with a close-up of a face, pale, eyes sunken and hollow, staring directly at her. The figure's mouth moved, whispering something she couldn't hear. The screen flickered, and her character was transported back outside the house. A new objective flashed on her screen. Find the Watcher. "I'm done with this," Lena said aloud, hitting the escape button. But the game wouldn't close. She tried Alt-tabbing, Control-Alt-deleting, nothing worked. Her mouse was frozen, the figure's face still looming on her screen. Panicking, she yanked her computer's power cord from the wall, plunging her room into darkness. She sat there, breathing hard, trying to make sense of what had just happened. As her eyes adjusted to the dark, she noticed something strange out of her window. In the distance, near the edge of the woods, a faint red light glowed. The hairs on the back of her neck rose. She knew exactly where that light was coming from, the old house in Whispering Pines. Just then, her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "Come see me." She was officially freaked out, but as much as she wanted to ignore it, a strange compulsion tugged at her. She grabbed her flashlight, threw on a hoodie, and left her house. The streets of Whispering Pines were eerily silent at that hour, the faint hum of streetlights the only sound. As she approached the abandoned house, she felt a chill seep into her bones. The windows were dark, except for that faint red light flickering from inside. She hesitated, debating whether to go back, but something urged her forward. The front door creaked as she pushed it open, the smell of mildew and dust filling her nose. Lena moved through the rooms, which looked exactly like they had in the game. Decayed furniture, cracked walls, every detail painstakingly recreated. She made her way to the hallway, her hand trembling as she reached the basement door. She swallowed hard, gripping the flashlight tightly as she descended the creaky wooden steps. The basement was just as dark as it had been in the game. She scanned the room with her flashlight, stopping when she saw the old television in the corner, casting a red glow across the concrete floor. The screen flickered to life, and once again she saw her own face staring back at her. But this time, she noticed something else, a dark figure standing behind her in the reflection. Heart pounding, she whirled around, her flashlight scanning the shadows, but there was no one there. Suddenly, the TV screen changed, displaying a single message. "You're the next Watcher." Before she could react, a cold hand clamped down on her shoulder. She screamed, dropping her flashlight as she spun around, but the room was empty. She backed away, trembling, and raced up the stairs, out of the house, and down the street, not daring to look back. When she got home, she collapsed onto her bed, gasping for breath. She checked her phone, hoping the unknown number might offer some explanation, but her inbox was empty. Shutting her eyes, she tried to calm herself, but the face from the game haunted her, its empty eyes staring into her soul. The next morning, she deleted Silent Watcher from her computer, but the feeling never left her. She couldn't shake the sense that something was still watching her, something that now had a hold on her. And every so often, as she passed the abandoned house on her way to school, she'd catch a flicker of red light in the basement window, like a reminder that the Watcher was waiting, always watching.